Hey guys, Nick McQueenie here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your Chip Caddie from when you receive it. First thing you're going to want to do is get everything out of the box. Alright, that was easy enough. Now that we have everything out of the box, it's a little easier to see what we have. The light, the extension cord, the holder, the projector. You're going to want to get out your setup guide right here, because that'll be helpful to follow along with. I got the screen for the hitting screen, all the components inside the box, the putting mat, and then down below here I have everything to set up the frame for the hitting screen, which we are going to do first. Alright guys, I've got all the pieces of the frame taken out of their wrapping and out of the box, and once you do that you can see that everything comes in pairs. The only thing that looks a little different is going to be the bottom and the top crossbars, just because the bottom has this foam on it so that when you roll a putt at it, it bounces back to you. Along with all of the pieces of the frame, you are going to need both of your Allen wrenches that you can find in your components bag. Super helpful that they give you real tools for this. It's not a little crummy Allen wrench from IKEA, which is lovely. I am going to start by adding these legs to the lower sidebar, but what I want to show you guys first is a component that you're going to be using for basically the entire construction of this net. Every time that you're going to be attaching two pieces, one side is going to have a clip and the other side is going to have a groove like this. So what we're going to do to start is we're going to take this clip and we're going to slide it through this groove. And then while we do this, it doesn't matter where the screws are as we feed it in, but when we tighten it up, we're going to want to make sure that those screws are pointing the same way as the lower leg here. So once we get it in, we're going to grab our red Allen wrench. We're going to run right through this hole in the bottom of the leg. You can tell it's the bottom because it has the rubber stands on it. And when we tighten this up, we're just going to want to make sure that these screws are going the same way as the leg, because that'll come in handy later when we are hanging the net. You want to get this nice and tight because this is kind of the whole structural integrity of the thing is based on the legs being tight. So we're going to get this down nice and snug, and we're going to repeat for the other side. Again, we have a clip, we have a leg, clip into leg, slide to the middle, through the hole in the bottom, and then I almost did it. You want to tighten it up and make sure that the screw is going the same way as you tighten. So we're in there, we're going to tighten this guy up. Cool. Now, we have two pieces that look the same, a left and a right. Now we're going to connect these two pieces with our bottom crossbar. So if you'll remember, the bottom crossbar is the one that has the foam on it. When we do this, we want to make sure that both sides have the screws pointing the same way. That's a really important part of this, so you don't have to redo this step. So what we're going to do now, so I'll do one at a time, we're going to take this bottom bar, very similarly to the way that we attach the sidebar to the leg, we're going to attach the crossbar to the leg, except this one's going to go on the inside groove. And if you hold it up like this, don't stress too much about how the foam is set up because you can always rotate it after you get it in there. Just make sure you're getting it down into the groove. Once you have it like that, try not to put too much pressure on those screws. Get it lined up nice. We're going to use our red Allen wrench again. We're going right through that hole in the middle, and we are tightening. Alright, we want to get that nice and snug, and then we're going to repeat that process on the other side as well. As you're doing this, just make sure that everything looks nice and flush. You don't want this bottom crossbar to be all crooked in the bottom. Just make sure everything looks good. You can loosen it and adjust if you need to. That looks great. All right, and then we are going to repeat on the other side. Again, we have our groove. We are going to make sure that we are putting the screws the same way. And we're going to run this straight through here. If you're having trouble getting this clip onto the groove, you can always grab your Allen wrench beforehand and loosen this screw, and it'll make it a lot easier to get a little play in there. We're going to run this straight through the middle again. Once we get it in the groove, we're going to slide it across. Good. Once it's in the middle, we're going to be able to go through that little hole in the middle to tighten the screw. I'm just holding it up by the arm so I don't put too much tension on this screw. And then once it's nice and tight, we can bring it up like this. All right, we are starting to take shape here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to make these side arms a little taller. And to do that, well, you know what I'm going to do is flip it around so we're facing the right way. So these screws are in the front, because that's what we're going to clip our net onto. Okay. These side arms are going to get taller again. We want to make sure that the screws are going the way we want them to. In order to attach these, we're going to need our blue Allen wrench. This is a little bit of a different setup, but pretty similar. This rod is going to slide into those grooves the same way. So what we're going to do is we're going to line it up to the back here. This is going to slide right down in there, and then there's already two little screws in there. I wouldn't over tighten these. Just going to make sure they're nice and snug. Boom and boom. And then we will repeat on the other side. Easy peasy. Make sure that screw is pointing out the same way that all the other screws are. Beautiful. Tighten this guy up. Our blue Allen wrench. One more crank with this guy. And then our last component that we need to add is this top crossbar. And this is going to be very similar to everything we've done in the past. We're going to see our clips again, which means we're going back to our red Allen wrench. I like to loosen them just a little bit so we have a little more play, so it's easier to get them into those grooves. And then finally, the last screw that we need to worry about, this guy here, we want to just make sure that that is pointing the same way as all the other screws. This is going to be a little tall, so what I'm going to do is just tip her down. Okay, we have the net down, and now I'm just going to add these in with the screw pointing the same direction as the rest. Clips are going to slide in just like the rest did. And then we are going to use our red Allen wrench again to get everything all snugged up. Once that's in there, you can line it up in the hole, tighten it up. Maybe before you tighten it, just make sure that those screws are all pointing the same way on the front. And our last tightening. Once that's complete, we can tip it back up, and boom, now we are ready to hang the screen. There is no front or back on the screen. You're just going to get it all unfolded, and then as you go around, you just want to make sure that you are getting one of these metal D-rings on each screw, and as you do that, you will be thankful that all your screws are facing the right direction, and you will see your screen get nice and tight. The only one that will not clip onto a screw is going to be this bottom middle D-ring, and you'll see that that lines up perfectly with that green line on the foam bar. And there you have it. The screen is set up. Next step is to get the camera and projector set up. Alright guys, before we get everything plugged in and fired up, I'm just going to lay out all the components in the general vicinity where you want them. Don't get too hung up in this. We're going to be adjusting it along with the process. First thing we're going to do, grab our hitting mat, line up that center notch with the center of the net, and roll her out. Once we have that looking like it's pretty centered, with this little hash mark lined up with the line on the foam roller and that middle D-ring, we can grab out of the white box our camera and our camera tripod. This is a side mount camera tripod, so what you're going to want to do out of the box is just loosen this here and kick this down to the side. Tighten it up, and while we're at it, you'll see a little lock-unlock on this twist. We're just going to unlock it and slide it up. You want it about 18 inches off the floor. Again, don't get too hung up with those details. Camera. We're going to screw right into the bottom here. You can use your thumb. Pretty easy to get that nice and tight, and then we're going to want that pointing outward. Boom. Kick out the legs. We're just going to rest this off to the side for now. Next, we will grab our projector. We're going to pop the little lens cap off, take our projector. You know what, before we do that, we'll grab our projector holder, and we'll put that down. followed by our projector. And then we're going to want to get out the power cord from that same gray box. You can plug that power cord right into the top of the projector. And now that we have that, let's grab our provided extension cord. Let's plug that right into the wall. And then we're just going to run that out right into the middle. We can go ahead and plug our projector in. All right. Next, we're going into the white box for the computer power, and also the HDMI cable out of your components bag where you found your Allen wrenches. So first we'll grab the HDMI cable, and we got our computer and the computer power. While we have the computer in our hands, we can take our HDMI cable, and we're just going to plug that right in. And we can also take our power cable, unwrap it, and that plugs in all the way over here on the side in that circular input. And we're bringing that to the power strip as well. All right, now that we have our computer here, we can take our camera USB. We're just going to slide that right into the top there. And we're going to take the HDMI that's hanging out, and this is going into the back of the projector into HD1 right here. Pop that in, and we are good. All right. Next, we're going to need to get our remote set up. So grab your remote out of the white box. We're going to the back of it. In the back of the remote, there is a little USB dongle. We're going to just kind of pop that out. And that is going into the front of the computer. You'll see two different USB slots there. And that is going to slide right in there like that. Okay. Pop the back on here. All right, guys, everything is plugged in, assembled. Next, we're going to set it all up. I'm going to show you how to set up the keystone on the projector and then calibrate the camera, and then we're ready to play. Okay, guys, now that we have everything plugged in, I did adjust where we had everything placed. You want to be 18 inches off the back of the putting mat and 18 inches over to the right. That is unless you're left-handed, and then it would be 18 inches over to the left, and this whole setup would be over on the other side. But once you have it in that general area, we are ready to power up our projector. We're going to sit behind the projector for this process. It makes it a lot easier when looking at the screen but working with the projector. If you stand in the middle, you have to point the remote at the projector, look at the screen. It gets a little confusing, so I like to just sit behind it. And we're good. When we power it up, if you first notice it's off a little, you can adjust manually just by grabbing that black tray, just kind of sliding it over a little. And then you'll probably notice that the projector is off in one direction. That's what we're going to fix right now in the Keystone menu. What we're going to do is using our remote, if you don't see this screen, just hit the home button. But using our remote, it's a little tricky because everything's sideways, so we're going right to move up on the screen. And then I'm going to hit up, up, right, right, and we're at that gear in the top corner. Hit OK to get in there. We're dropping down to projection settings, to geometric corrections in the projection settings menu. And here we are at the Keystone adjustment menu. So what we want to do is grab that orange dot in the bottom left corner by hitting OK. And now we're going to move it up by holding down right. And you'll see that wider white line is becoming flush with the bottom. We want to get that wide white line running around our entire projector. So to lock it in, we're going to hit back. Now we can move up to that top left corner by hitting right. OK to lock it in. Hold down left. And there it is. And then we're going to hold down to bring it over. Maybe bring it back just a touch. I think that looks good. Back to lock it in. And now we're going to drop down, but over to the right. We're in that top right corner. OK locks it in. I'm holding up to bring it over to the left, and I'm holding left to bring it all the way down. And that looks pretty darn good to me. We need to get that bottom corner, and it should be pretty good. We're going to hit left to get down there, OK to lock in. And now we're holding down right just to bring up that bottom line. and boom. I think that looks great. Once it looks good, please do not hit the menu key or you're gonna reset all that work. I just want you to hit that back key a few times to back out of this menu, and we are done. You don't need to use the projection menu really ever again. What we're gonna do now is we are going to power up our computer by pushing the red button on the front of the computer. We'll see that it's detecting that it's getting some action in that HDMI 1, and we're gonna hit OK on our projector controller, and then we can put that controller down, and we're gonna pick up our game controller and power that guy on. Give it just, and there it is, the first time we are booting up. And now what we're gonna do is we are going to calibrate our camera. Using the trackpad, you can move around your cursor, and then when you're on that icon with the 3 flags, tap the trackpad, and it's just like clicking a mouse, and boom, we are opening up. Here is our main menu for the first time. I know you want to play, but first we got to calibrate. All right, this looks pretty darn good, but if you look, what we're doing is we're going to line up the corners and those circles around the ball. So just for the sake of doing this, I will adjust our camera. If you don't see all 4 corners of your screen in the on the projector, then you need to move your camera so you can see all 4 corners of your screen and those 2 red balls. Once you can see all that, you'll notice that top left corner of the red box has a blue circle, and that is the first one that we are going to move using this trackpad. This one's a lot easier because everything is facing the correct direction now. So I got it there. We're going to hit OK to lock it in. Dropping that down, slide it over. Okay, we're in that bottom corner now, bottom right. Sliding over. Very good. OK, he's going to lock that in, and then we're bringing this guy down. And then we have these 2 circles. You have to make sure that you've placed your red balls on the 2 X's, and we're going to put that first smaller circle over the front ball. Okay, and then that back circle over the back ball. Now, while you guys are watching this, you might see how it looks like there's waves moving across my screen. That is not, it's not a camera problem or something. That I can see that too. That's what's called flickering light, and that is going to make gameplay not work really. It's going to make it so it can't detect that ball in front. So what you need to do, if this is what you see on the calibration screen and it looks like waves are moving across, you need to turn off the lights in your house, and you need to use the provided soft light and tripod. This just screws into the bottom. I like to plug it in so you never have to worry about the battery dying. They give you a nice long power cord for it, and it plugs right into the power strip. We're going to flip it on. We're going to make sure we're at 100% and 5600K. We're going to bring it down, put it right next to our camera off to the left, and then I like to just turn off the house lights. So just get that flickering light issue, turn them off. And now you'll notice how much brighter that back ball is. You probably don't see those waves anymore. And now we are ready to play. But that flickering light issue can be a pretty big problem at first. So I do recommend just starting out with that light on the back ball. If you're under fluorescent lights in the basement or something, you shouldn't have that problem. Okay, we're going to confirm this, and now we're finally ready to play. Thank you guys for going through the whole setup with me. I hope that helped a lot. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and have fun with your Chip Caddie.